Local AI search ranking is already changing who gets found. That confusion is why the label sounds smart long before the system sounds clear. So let's make this simple and pin down what the idea really does in practice. The better question is not whether local AI search ranking sounds impressive, but what changes when teams actually use those systems. That is where the explanation becomes practical instead of abstract. Once you know the job it is doing, the rest becomes much easier to follow. At its core, local AI search ranking helps turn inputs into more useful outputs with less manual effort. That sounds broad, but the important part is the decision-making pattern underneath it. The label matters less than the repeated process it makes possible. The topic matters because these systems can shorten slow loops that usually depend on human attention alone. It also makes quality easier to repeat when the workflow is defined clearly enough. That combination is why teams pay attention once the idea moves from demo to daily use. The usual pattern is simple. You give the system context, it applies a repeatable method, and then it returns a result. What makes the result useful is the structure around the model, not the model in isolation. That is why the setup only looks magical until you break the steps apart. You can see local AI search ranking anywhere teams need faster drafting, sorting, checking, or decision support. It often hides inside tools people already use rather than announcing itself loudly. That is why the impact can feel bigger than the surface explanation suggests. Imagine a support workflow where someone has to review the same type of information again and again. Without structure, the work is slow and uneven, but with the right system the first useful answer arrives much faster. The real gain is not only speed, it is having a clearer starting point for the next decision. The common mistake is expecting local AI search ranking to fix a messy process without first tightening the process itself. When the input is vague, the output usually becomes vague in a more expensive way. That is why structure beats excitement almost every time. If you want to test local AI search ranking, start with one narrow use case and one clear success measure. That keeps the experiment honest and makes the results easier to judge. Once one workflow works well, you can widen the system without losing clarity. The takeaway is that local AI search ranking becomes easier once you stop chasing the label and start mapping the job. When the workflow is clear, the explanation becomes clear and the value becomes easier to spot. That is how the topic moves from confusing noise to something you can genuinely use.